Good afternoon, everybody. And just before we go into this video, I would like to tell you that this pigeon was kicked out of its nest by its mother or fell out on a job we was working on, and it is now 3 weeks old and has gone from being in a little, box with food and water, me watering it and feeding it every day, to now thinking that I am its adopted parent. So if this little thing flies across the screen, yeah, it's a bit tame. Thinks I'm its parent. But anyway, I'm going to put this over here and it may fly across the screen. But today's video is I have had a phone call off a man called, I hope I get this right, Hakeem or Akeem or Masim, along them lines. And there was a bit of, I forgot exactly what it was, but my phone rings 6,000 times a day, so I ain't done bad. I got the end bit right, I know. Anyway, I said to this young man, he was asking me about opening a skip company, and obviously, bloody pigeon, wish I'd... So anyway, as you all know, the industry changes all the time, so what I'm going to do is a quick video, 10 minutes or so, of how to open and scale a skip business, how I did it, and how I help other people do it, as in when they're getting started, giving them advice and stuff like that. So the first thing he told me was his budget. The man's got a good budget to start off with, which is handy. What a lot of people do is, though, let's forget this person. We're just going to talk as if you are building a skip business and you've got no budget or whatever. So people will ask me a lot. The first question is, shall I get a hook loader or shall I get one of them, mini skip loaders that we build? So if you want a mini skip loader, go on skipworks.co.uk and the company that I work for build them skip bodies. But shall I get an hook loader? Shall I get a skip loader? And I will answer that first basic question very simply. You should never, ever get a hook loader. And I'll explain to you why. I know people at home will be saying, why are you saying that? So I'm just giving advice. This is from years of experience and nothing to do with, the fact that we make chain lift bodies and stuff like that. I work for a company that does that. The reason is it's to do with storage. So as you will see on the screen here, you can store chain lift skips inside each other, which means basically you can quite easily take out 3, 4, 5 skips. Just remember, when you're going on the road to put a strap over the top, it's got to be securely fastened down now. The old days of carrying loads of skips are unfortunately over. You've got to have them strapped down. But you can deliver 5 skips with 1 lorry. With a hook loader, you can only do 1 skip, 1 lorry. Usually what they do is, a lorry drives around with 1 skip on its back. So if it's like from, one of these bigger companies, they have a 40-yarder on, and that lorry all day will drop the empty 40-yarder off, pick one up, go back to his yard, empty that, and then go to the next customer and keep swapping it like that all day long. It can only carry 1. If you're a small business just getting started, a mini skip loader can carry, as many as you can carry legally. As long as you strap them down, you're allowed to carry 10, as long as they're not over the weight limit and the height limit and stuff like that, depending what truck you've got, 3.5 or 7.5 or whatever. That would definitely be, the way to go 1,000,000%. We've got hook loaders here. We've got a few of them, 32 tonners and stuff, and they can only carry 1 skip. A normal skip lorry can go out fully loaded on the back with tons of empty skips and deliver them all in one go. So that is the first part of it. The other question, which kind of leads on to this one, is to do with storage, is that also when you're storing these skips, you need a lot more room in your yard. So they've got to be all individually next to each other or whatever. If you're doing the chain lifts, where you lift it with a chain, you can just lift them up, sit them inside each other, so you can have a smaller yard. Going on to the part with the yard, it's quite an often, similar question that I get all the time. What size yard do I need and everything else? And the answer to that question is the biggest yard that you can get. And also it don't want to be anywhere residential. It wants to be nicely out the way, so you're not going to cause, a load of hassle. So hypothetically speaking, let's just say, for instance, you've found yourself a nice yard, you've rented it or you've bought it, whatever you're doing, you've got a yard. It's out the way. It's not near anybody's house. It's, on a farm or whatever, somewhere out the way. We get a lot of questions about exemptions, permits and stuff like that. What I'm going to say to people is, I'm going to do a members only section. It's not going to be now, but eventually I'm going to do one, and I'm going to do more in-depth videos, but because they take so much time to do, it's going to have to be a members-only sort of thing. It's pointless me just blasting videos out and, you know, spending half my life doing them. I'll have to do it for members. But anyway, let's just say, for instance, you've got your permit and your exemption sorted out, whichever you're doing, whatever type of business you're doing, that's for another story. So you've bought yourself a little mini skip loader, and the natural progression from there is to then buy yourself a big skip loader. So, you know, say you've got a 3.5 tonner, you'll then go up to a 7.5. If you start with a 7.5, you'll go up to an 18. Some people go up to 23 tonners. You can get massive skip loaders. So you've got two things to think about when you get your own yard. One, do you want loads of rubbish in there? So basically, on an exemption, kind of grey area, but we'll brush over it. If you don't want to get a permit, your own permit, which, you know, they're a fortune, what you can actually do is you can go to another site and tip your rubbish there. So, for instance, we have a site, people come to us, bring us their rubbish, we charge them a little bit of money. What that takes, you know, is it takes a little bit away from you having to sort a load of rubbish out, as well as build a skip business, you know. And at the beginning, I would suggest to go to another site. Like, for instance, now wood prices are absolutely through the roof. You can't get rid of anything. You know, all the other sort of like bullshit that comes with business, we have to deal with it. You know, Environment Agency, insurance, VOSA, you know, police, councils, anybody who's, you know, a government official, sort of like you have to deal with them. If you just running a skip business where you drop a skip off, pick it up, tip it, you know, wherever you agree with the tipping site, you get a price. As long as you charge your customer a little bit more, you're making money. It's very, very simple. It's a set amount of money you can make based on the skip. If you have a transfer station or whatever you're doing, you can make more money if you sort out in your yard, but you can also lose money, believe it or not. So, for instance, let's say we take a load of waste in over a month or whatever, over a couple of weeks, because we've got a decent sized tipping shed, and something happens, you know, whatever, like this wood scenario. So, you know, now we've been taking wood in, and then all of a sudden the price of wood goes from, you know, a free tip to 50 quid over the space of 10 days. Then you can't get rid of it, and then it's just an ongoing cycle. All that bullshit is on my shoulders, you know, on the recycling site's shoulders. It's not on yours. If you've got a transfer station, you know, you will be in the middle of that. What I would suggest is, when you're first getting going, is to just tip your soil and your hardcore in your yard. This is kind of what we did. You know, we're going back 25 years here. Permits was different. Exemptions was different. It was a very different game. But when we first started, we had a couple of exemptions, and all we tipped in our yard was just a bit of clean soil. And the most important thing that anybody can get in a skip business, I would say, is a soil screener. And the reason for that is that soil is problematic to get rid of. It's also expensive, and it's also the thing you get the most weight of. So you get the most of it. Yeah, based on weight and not by, you know, volume. You probably get more waste, whatever. But it's a real problem thing to get rid of. Imagine if you can screen that material, put it into ton bags, and then sell it. Every ton that you are taking away, as long as the soil's good quality and stuff like that, and you screen it nice and small and get it tested, you know, you've potentially got a big revenue stream. A lot of people really do like crushing. So they get these little Red Rhino crushers and everything else. The problem is with Red Rhino crushers and the small stuff, and I'm talking from experience because I've got one. I'm not knocking the Red Rhino and these other mini crushers that you get. The amount of tonnage that they do, these people that say they do 15 ton an hour, believe me, not even close. They might do 15 ton an hour if it was just breaking a brick in half. You know, literally you had the jaws this big, a brick comes in, the jaw just touches it, the brick breaks in half, and that's it. If you have the jaws like that, as stuff goes through, it gets jammed on the belt, so you've got your jaws like this banging away. A paving slab goes through, your belt, so you're taking the stuff away, and the paving slab sits there and it can't move, the belt jams, and you spend 3 hours unblocking it. So it is not realistic to think that a little Red Rhino can do 15 ton an hour. They won't even do, I want to say 5 or 6 ton. You know, if you built doing it this sort of size, you know, 50, 60 mil, what people want it for domestic jobs, it's difficult to get it down to that size. So I would say screening soil is the simplest thing you can do. Put it into a bag and then you can deliver it with the same skip truck as you are picking and delivering skips up with. It is very simple. Or you can put it into a skip and deliver it that way. This is material that people have paid you to take in. You are then screening it, which costs next to nothing, and then you are getting paid for it going out. That, and you know, and it's a big part of your day-to-day material. Crushing brick, like I say, there's not a crusher on the market that I've come across that's small enough and cheap enough for a small company and has a decent throughput. I've seen these little dragon machine, like a little blue crusher. I can't remember what it's called. I'll put a video of it on the screen. I've seen one of them working. Again, listen, great machine. And if you're paying to get rid of material, so if you're a builder and you're paying $4,000 a week to get rid of hardcore or doing muckaways and stuff like that, perfect. But if you're in a skip yard where you can go get a skip, pick it up, it's full of brick, and you can take it to a site where they specialise in crushing brick and they're going to let you tip it for free, why have the hassle? Why have the hassle, and why have, you know, another bill around your neck of buying a crusher? You can take it in there, free tip, and probably buy the same brick back after they've crushed it for £8 a ton, £9 a ton. You know, down here where I am, that's the sort of price that they charge. Why would you even bother getting a crusher and having all the headache and engines blowing up and, you know, all the other stuff, the dust and all the stuff you like say? That's what I would potentially do, and that's what we did at the beginning. So to recap on that little piece there, if I was you, your crush brick, I'd send, you know, sorry, not your crush brick, your brick, I'd send it to another site, you know, and your waste and your soil, I would try and do something with it, because you can actually generate, you know, a nice income from selling your soil at 50, 60 quid, like I say. There's a little bit of testing to do and a little bit of quality control, but you can make a decent product, and you can actually do that on an exemption, I believe. So it's, you know, certainly nobody's as interested in a pile of soil, you know, as they are in a big pile of stinking waste. So if you was doing it, you know, a little bit on the edge of legal, I don't think anybody would have a huge problem. You know, if we're talking, you know, 10 or 20 ton little pile. I'm not on about people filling yards up. I'm not on about that. I'm on about you coming with a skip. It's good soil. You put it through your screener, straight into a bag, and, you know, bag it up and stack your bags up nice and neat. That's the problem with these sites. The Environment Agency don't want to kick the ass out of people. Let me tell you, they're easy to deal with. You know, don't get me wrong. They are very, very strict now to what they used to be 20 years ago. It's a different, you know, but the world's a different place. If you play the game, you know, if you've got a little skip yard somewhere and you know, like for instance, you bring your soil in, you put it in a little pile, you're not bothering anybody, you don't make a load of mess, you don't start, you know, your pile goes from 20 ton to 150 ton or whatever. If you just keep things small scale as a whole, people don't get bothered. You know, there's a lot of lads around here, I'm not going to mention any names, who run little, you know, little skip companies. They make just as much money as the big ones. And, you know, they cause no trouble to anybody. Sorry about that, the pigeons flying about, but they cause no trouble to anybody, and they get left alone. You know, that's the thing of it. You know, these boys will go out and start nicking customers and all that lot when they're not doing things legally. They're leaving themselves wide open, like I say, to, you know, people getting on the case, because there's more rules around the waste industry than there is anything else. Did you know that? There is actually transporting waste from the yard part all the way to going out, sorting the waste, bringing it back. There's actually more regular regulations in that than there is most other industries, if not all. If you think, like I said, you've got the police, so when you're on the road, you've got to be legal. You've got VOSA if you've got big trucks. You've got the Environment Agency. You've got Health and Safety. You've got the local council. So if you think about all them people that you have to basically keep happy, and at one time or other, when you open your skip business or your waste company, they will be knocking at the door for one thing or another. I'll give you an example of something that happened to me, and this was at Christmas. I think it was New Year's Day. The police rang me, said, one of your skips has been involved in a road traffic accident. I said, well, I don't think so, because I ain't got no wheels on it. So anyway, long story short, I had to come down to the yard. Was it New Year's Eve or Christmas Day? whatever. I had to come down to the yard, get a skip truck. It was this year, this. Get a skip truck, go down to the job, and turned up, and somebody had literally, during the middle of the day, ploughed into the skip, and the car was underneath a skip full of hardcore. Guy's nearly killed himself. You know, how these things happen, I have not got a clue. Luckily, everybody walked away from it, but this is what I'm saying to you. You know, when you've got 200, 300, 400 skips out and about, you've got a lot of liability around your shoulders. You know, you've got to make sure that you do things right. So if I can give this guy some advice, the one who rung up who's after getting a mini skip truck offers, or I don't even know if he's getting a mini skip truck, but he wants advice starting a skip business. This is what I would tell you in literally 2 minutes, and it's what we did. So I would get the biggest yard you could. When I started, didn't have no money to get a yard. I would buy a 3.5 ton skip truck, because you can just get straight in them and get working, and you don't need any special licenses. I would also definitely not buy a 3.5 ton hook loader, because you can only carry one skip at a time. Pointless. Use more diesel and do less work. And once you've got a yard sorted, I would then tip your rubbish with somebody else until you've got a decent customer base. Once you've got that customer base, then what you can do is you'll have enough revenue coming in where you can afford to get a permit and different things like stuff like that. I am going to do some videos that are more structured, where I'm going to sit down. These videos, I get an idea in my head, oh, I'm off with it, you know, and I do ADHD to death, I think. I don't know what but whatever. But I'm going to do some videos where I sit down and I'll write down some points of things I want to talk about, and I'm going to do it for members only. So, you know, I can't sit and do these videos all the time, because obviously it's takes me away from doing my own work. But if you're looking at getting permits, or you're having trouble with fire prevention plans and stuff like that, let me just tell you, I'm no expert, but I can put you in the right direction, because I have gone through. We've had 3 permits, so we've had planning permission done 3 times. We've had 3 permits 3 times for the different sites. We've had 2 or 3 different. Actually, no, 2 permits, but we've had 3 sites. So, you know, I've been through it 3 times now. I've also helped a lad down here get his permit sorted. So I've got a good idea of, you know, how to point you in the right direction at least. Because what you find is some of the information of getting a transfer station, it's not easy. So there you go, there's the basics. And then once you've done all that, the main thing that you're messing about with every single day is soil. So go buy yourself some ton bags, go buy yourself a cheap screener, or get a sieve out your garden and start filling your ton bags with good soil. I will tell you now, you make more money doing soil, just clean soil through summer, than you will doing skips, I would have said. The only problem is, you know, where do you store all that soil? Because you end up with so much, you know, you might get 20, 30 ton coming in every single day coming in. You get 30 ton coming in every single day, you know, and when you want to screen it through winter, when you're quiet, you can't do it. So you want to get 2 or 3 weeks a year, you know, to screen it, where it's real. Usually May, you know, it gets windy, it gets hot, it gets dry. You can screen all your stuff, bag it all up, you know, and then you might have 100 grams worth of soil sat in the yard. Anyway, there you go. There's a little bit of free advice. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you all soon. Put this fucking pigeon in a pie if it carries on. See you soon. Bye.